you're wondering why we're waiting, it's not quite 9 o'clock, and I see the paper's not here yet.
Yeah, the PO. They're usually here by now.
Yeah, no, he's usually here. So we'd have to put in minutes
I'm working both days.
that
but
Terry
yeah,
was late.
I'm going to have to. Take both
I
days.
said for the paper wasn't here. So we have to put in the paper that he was late. Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, and good samples. Yeah, the samples were good. You know, you always have to kind of reflect back to last year's cropping season. Remember how dry it was, and it started out that we didn't know if we were even going to get any crops, and then kind of turned around in July and ended up with some pretty good yields, and sometimes that dry spring actually results in some pretty good quality. Well, we just thought we were going to have to put in the paper that you were late. They're good. So quality was good. I think it's changed that we have about 70 some samples in. And I remember the time, though, when we had well over 200, though. But that industry has changed so much with private protection laws, the plant, the variety protection laws now, and the Roundup Readies and all of that stuff.
So in effect, it takes the.
Oh, yes. Yeah. See, the Roundup Ready seed can't be sold publicly. Is it 9 now?
It's 9 o'clock.
It's 9 o'clock.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tuesday, February 6th. This is the Cuyahoga County weekly meeting of the Board of Commissioners. We would like to open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance in honor of Don being back. Would you lead us in the pledge this morning, Don? Thank you, Don. That proves the point that hasn't changed over time.
Since the third grade.
That's right. That's a long time.
It has changed, but you don't really.
Yeah.
They're trying to take under God.
Right. Yeah. They were.
Wait, Eisenhower added that. Eisenhower's going to add under God.
All right. First item on the board is to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion
We
to
have a
approve
motion
the
by
agenda.
Hatton, second by Waterman. I would make one change. If you go to item number 10, action to authorize contract with Midco, scratch that one. We will not address that one. We will move it to next week, is that correct?
Probably.
Well,
More than likely, yes.
Milo wasn't quite ready for us yet, so. Okay, with that change then, is there any more changes? Anything else, any more discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Action to approve the,
Move to approve is emailed.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Motion by Hatton, second by Van Duzen to approve the minutes of the January 23rd meeting. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, number 4, let's open up the bids for the highway supplies and weed chemicals, and action to award bids if Rick feels comfortable in what he has. He'll probably want to review them and then come back later on at this meeting, or maybe even next week, depending on how.
Thanks, Rick.
Make sure you keep one now.
Is there anyone here? Is there anyone in the audience here representing any of the companies that are bidding today? We have several out here. Yes, so if we need some more information or something, we may ask or call on you. Thank you.
We will start with concrete pipe. I see I have a couple here. The first one I'll open is from Semcast, Hartford, South Dakota.
What was the name again?
Semcast, C-E-M-C-A-S-T. And the first one I asked for is 24 inch. And the bid on that is $25.28 a foot. On the 36 inch, $49.47 per foot. And on the 60 inch, Class 3 RCAB, $210.84.
Where did you say they were from? What town?
Hartford.
Hartford. Thank you.
They don't have bridge deck on theirs, so that's all from Semcast. The next one we have is from Forterra. Out of Rapid City, South Dakota.
How do you spell that?
Forterra. Formerly cement products.
Yep.
On theirs, on the 24 inch, round pipe, $31.06. On the 36 inch, $56.86. And on the 60 inch, $158.49.
You said 158, Rick?
$158.49.
If I can interrupt, so all the like the thickness of the wall and all that's the same specifications?
Well, I've
for
got a
everything?
question that I'm gonna have to clarify on Semcast, on their 60 inch. It was, that's RCAP Class 3. I'm not familiar with exactly what that
So
is.
it's something to do with
That's the one I'm gonna,
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna suggest that we give you time to look at it.
So there might be discrepancy between the 60
The type of
inch
pipe, yeah.
type of pipe,
Right, yeah.
basically.
And Forterra does bid bridge deck. I just have to find it. Foot interior, 23-inch depth.
But
$4,722.
that's the 40 foot interior.
$47.22.
Yeah. 23 inch.
On the 50-foot interior, 30-inch depth, $6,860.
What was the first one? Sorry, I missed that.
4722.
47.
Okay.
And they do have box culvert bid too. On the 8x8, that is $481 per foot. And the 10x10 is $595 per foot.
Is that delivered?
Yeah. And that's all the concrete bridge deck and concrete culvert I requested bids on.
Okay.
So we had two bidders on the pipe and one bidder on the balance.
That bridge deck.
Culverts.
Box culvert. Next item, corrugated metal pipe. Looks like we have one. We have two, and that would be True North Steel out of Huron. Formerly Huron Tank and Culvert, if any, you're familiar with them? On the 18-inch 16 gauge. They have, we're going to go with the spiral or helical. Bid on that, $12.75 a foot. That's, we do use the helical rather than the riveted ones, they're more expensive, we usually typically use the spiral one. So that's the prices I'll give you, the other prices, we will have a price on it from them, but we use the helical stuff. 24-inch 16 gauge, $16.15. Now we'll go to the 14 gauge, 30-inch, $25.50 per foot. And the 36-inch 14 gauge is $30.60.
All of this stuff is FOB and manufacturing at,
That Watertown.
yeah. Oh, FOB Watertown?
Watertown.
Oh, so
Yeah,
it
it's
delivered?
delivered, yeah.
Okay.
Now we go to the 5x1 corrugation, 60-inch, 14 gauge is $53.10 per foot.
Is this still True North steel?
Yes, yep. 72-inch, 12 gauge is $87.30. 96-inch 12 gauge is $117. And the 108 12 gauge, 108-inch 12 gauge is $131.40. Now we go to that same 5x1 corrugation, but this is arch pipe. 60-inch class. $79.38. $72-inch class, $95.06. 108-inch class, $143.08.
I got a quick question, Rick. On this spiral pipe and things like that, do the townships, can they work off these, or
Yeah,
can they buy that
they buy right
from the
directly
county
from
at that
us.
price?
Yeah, we usually have a pretty good stock of the typical ones, 18-inch, 24-inch, and 30-inch, and they buy right out of our stockpile. If there's something they need, they order it from me, and I call it in.
And it's at the same price,
Yep.
it's bid price.
Yeah.
They don't, I know a while back, we had one up in my neck of the woods, and they added a piece to it down there on that Still Lake backup.
Right, yeah. A lot of times we won't have those short pieces. I have to special order them. And then they might have to wait because, you know, they're not gonna run one small piece up here for this price.
Yeah.
The next time they come through, they'll throw it on and deliver it when they flat.
Okay.
Yeah, we do work with the town.
I just wanted to understand that a little better.
And that's all that I have requested in the steel pipe, and only one bidder. My suggestion on that is to accept the bid of True North Steel on that one.
Okay. Can we act on that right away?
We need a motion, yeah.
I'll
Okay.
make
That's
that
why we've
motion.
done it.
All right, we have a motion by Hatton, second by Waterman. Any discussion? I think you answered my question. It's FOB Watertown. That's good. By the way, the townships have to come and get their own.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's a large one, we have had them drop it at sites.
Yeah.
True North Steel is good enough. If we've got a large pipe and they're bringing it up, and we'll work with that job site, they will deliver it right to the site. That's not very often we do that.
Yep. Okay, you've heard the motion. There's a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. True North has that bid.
Rick, you want to try
All
and
right.
use that mic if you can?
Bridge lumber, is that next?
If you can't, that's fine.
Where's the stand? It might work better.
Bridge lumber, don't see any bid on that. True North Steel in the past has bid on that. I guess they do have one in here, True North. On the 3 by 12 by 20. 3 by 12 inch from 16 to 24 foot. It's $2,632 per 1,000 board feet. And that's for a truckload. Don't have anything on the bridge piling, creosote piling, or the wood posts. My suggestion, recommendation is to accept the bid of True North Steel for the bridge plank, and anything we need on piling or fence posts, we'll have to get a quote on at the time we.
I'll make
A
that motion to
by
accept.
Waterman. Second by
Second.
Van Duzen. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And the next item, diesel fuel. This is the first year that we do not have a bid on it. For the past several years, Cenex has submitted a bid. This year they did not. So that will have to be handled by whenever we need fuel. We'll have to call and get quotes and
3 quotes and, Yep.
record them. And
okay.
All right.
How far ahead of time do we have to do that?
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to clarify it, like, we might do it on a, try to get Cenex or somebody to do it on a seasonal basis, because we've got shops the out shops where they have to deliver and keep the tanks full in the winter, and I don't wanna have to call every time we need 300 gallons in Florence or whatever, and call 3, so if I can visit with legislative audit and see if I can get it so we can do it on a 3-month, if I can get somebody to give a quote good for 3 months for those outlying shops and record that, and if that's gonna be good enough, so that's kind of
Okay.
the direction I'm looking at going with that.
Does
I
that
don't
need to come
see-
back in front of the commission then
Yeah.
for approval?
Yep.
Yep,
I don't see anyone here from Sioux Valley Co-op
no.
out here, so I was just wondering if they just forgot to submit a bid, or if they, they're kind of busy right now with the
Right,
store,
and-
and there's a lot of stuff going on.
And typically, they deliver the bid personally to my office the day of the bid letting at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was kind of anxiously awaiting
Yeah.
that, hoping it would come, but it didn't. The same on the Gasohol, no bid on that, so.
If it was an oversight on their part, could they bring that in next week then?
Well, they could give us a quote they could give a quote for the entire year,
Right.
and we could ask the same from other suppliers and get quotes. I would have to go with legislative audit on that again and run it by them and see how we can do that. If Cenex wants to give a quote for the pump price minus 6 cents like they have in the past, they've submitted a bid, a hard bid, and then they also sent a letter along with the bid that said, we're also offering you the pump cost minus 6 cent discount if you want to go that way. And, maybe there's a situation that we can end up going that way. But there again, it's all going to have to go by legislative audit, and it'll all have to come back in front of the commission.
Troy, isn't that what the city has
Yeah,
got?
that's,
Right.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
basically, that's what the city
Yeah,
does.
it's
I did,
contracted.
go ahead, Rick.
But
Or
the
bid
city
Cenex.
fills at their pumps, at Cenex pumps. We would be at ours, maybe we could get a little more discount or maybe less because they're having to deliver it, I guess, I don't know. And then the outlying shops, I'm sure there's gonna be a separate price on that because they're delivering it, they're keeping the tanks full there, so.
I did get a call this week from a senator that is sponsoring a bill to try to get all of the state cars switched over so they use E30, and is wondering where we were at. And we committed ourselves to E30 back when we had the E30 challenge back last year already, right, Rick?
Well, in our tank at the shop, we've got E10.
E10,
Because
yeah.
we've got older equipment with some
Yeah.
fuel pumps with diaphragms and fuel lines in them that I don't know that E30 is.
Mr. Chairman, I think if I recall right, we gave permission to the department heads to choose. I
To
think
use it
I think
if it
that's-
was available.
That's
and
right.
I think
Yeah.
that's what we've been doing.
That
too.
And I,
Yeah.
if you remember last time, this time too, I asked for bids at the pump for E30, E85 and so forth, and I didn't get a bid at
Nothing.
that, so
But we have all of them listed here, E10, E20, E30,
Yep.
and E85, so.
I'll be visiting with Jim and Brad and see how they're doing it. If they're getting quotes, I can work off of their quotes for the
Yeah.
E30 or E85.
They're just filling up at the pump as needed, so.
Yeah.
I certainly haven't used an E30 forever, and I've not had a lick of trouble, so.
The sheriff's office fill at the county shop?
No,
No,
They don't. Where do they fill?
Cenex.
Cenex.
Oh, they do, okay.
Yep.
They
Okay.
used to fuel at the county shop.
That's what I
but
thought.
they
Okay.
chose to go to Cenex.
We've never bid for law enforcement fuel or emergency management.
No, it's just been paying pump
I
price.
guess I have no idea
I think maybe we should look
how
into
much
that.
they use
Yeah,
Yeah.
in a
Yeah,
year.
they
would
use
agree
quite a
with
bit,
you.
I'm sure.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that would be beneficial for
Then
the
we
county
might-
to do that.
With this, where I have to go looking for quotes, maybe that can be included too, with their price at the pump. Put
Yeah.
it in there so we got it.
Mm-hmm.
We
I
do
think,
have it in there.
funny you were talking about that. I had a conversation with Brad just last week. I think you, on the E30, and I believe it was determined that it's not in the best interest to use E30 in some of the patrol cars because of like a speed factor or something, but we can get clarification on that from
Yeah,
From Brad.
he's just been running E10, I think.
That's all we're running is E30 in our vehicles in town here. We've had no issues with E30.
Right, yeah.
So,
anyway. We'll have
But
to
we'll
check
be doing
into
it different than we have in the past. Like I said, we've always had a firm bid, and this year we're gonna have to do it a little different.
Actually, if whatever they burn, E30 or E10, whatever, if they give us the discount at the pump, it's still the same as we were doing it now, convenience-wise.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
and I'll get with Jared Landmark too and see
Sure.
if they're going to, willing to offer that price, 6 cents discount, whatever pump price is, 6-cent discount delivered to our tank or whatever, and then visit with legislative audit too. And, you know, they buy, emergency management and the sheriff buy a tank at a time. We buy 10,000 gallons at a time or whatever. So.
I don't think it's uncommon to not get a quote for fuel, from what I've seen from other counties' minutes.
For law enforcement, you're speaking?
No, I mean from other counties' minutes for the highway.
Okay,
It looks like a lot of them are requesting the 3 quotes.
okay. Okay, next item is liquid asphalt per ton. Looks like we have 2 bidders, Jebro out of Sioux City and Flint Hill Resources out of Marshall, Minnesota. We'll open the Jebro bid
Spell that.
first. Jebro.
like it sounds.
They're from where?
Iowa, Sioux City. And Flint Hills is from Marshall, Minnesota. And I requested all MC 70 through 3,000. They have the 70 and the 3,000 separate. I'll first give you the price on Jebros for MC 70. It's $699.22 per ton. And the MC 3000 is $584.22.
Per ton.
per ton.
Is that a little heavier?
The MC 3000, MC 70's got a lot more diesel in it and it stays pliable. We use that for patching. It actually melts into the asphalt. It's got more of a cutter in it than the MC 3000.
Yep.
AE 150. They have a bid on the AE 150 at $437.46. And no bid on the 200. And they have no bid on the, excuse me, they do on the MC 3000R, no bid.
No bid on the MC 3000?
Correct.
So that that 584.28 per ton, that was on,
22, that was for the MC 3000
yep,
without the R. The
Yep.
R is just rubber, it's just got
Yep.
polymer. The next bid is from Flint Hills Resources.
this is getting to be like the John Deere tractors now. I used to know the numbers and what they were and all of them, and now they put an R in front of them or behind of them and screw me all up. I don't know what that all means anymore.
They didn't give us
Flint Hills on their MC 70 is $679.95. MC 3000, $529.95. On the AE 150 is $404.95. 3000R, so that was the only two bids from Flint Hills. I guess my recommendation is to accept the bid from Flint Hills.
I'll make a motion that
We
we
have a
accept that
motion by
bid.
Van Duzen, a
Second.
second by Waterman. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Flint Hills has the bid. And that would be for the 70,
MC
MC
sen-
70 and MC 300,
3000,
or 3000, and also the
AE 150.
AE 150, correct. You got it?
Yeah, yep, I was
All right.
looking back to the first.
There was no bid, Rick, on the 200, correct?
No.
No.
Pea gravel.
Pea gravel, doesn't appear that I have a, excuse me, I do too, Northern Conag.
Minnesota.
Yeah. Their plant is located just north of Robin, right by you.
In my backyard.
Right in your backyard.
Yeah.
Price is $5.35 per ton.
That's $5.35.
Correct.
Thank you for clarifying that.
After the other numbers.
Yeah.
If it was $535, I think I'd take those 2 acres of my backyard and be looking for some pea gravel.
Have to have you
I'll
deliver
make a
it, Mark.
motion. that
And
we
I
approve that
recommend
bid.
accepting Northern.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Hatton, a second by Gable. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Northern Conag has that bid.
And a little comment on that, when we're patching, and for our chip sealing, which is where we use the vast majority, we'll use it out of Northern Conag. If we're patching asphalt when we're working south of Kransburg, and we're putting down little bits of pea rock on top of gravel, we're not gonna run all the way up to Rawville, we'll go to Dunnix, which is just the cost of driving all the way up to the, north of Rawville would outweigh the expense of a little higher price of pea rock at
And if you
Dunnix.
wonder what pea gravel is, actually, that's what chips your windshield. It doesn't break it. It takes the bigger stuff. This just does little chips. Pits it. I've got about 5 vehicles to prove that.
I guess the next item up is gravel crushing. We have one bid, it looks like, from Brownlee Construction of Watertown. One-half inch per ton is $2.98 per ton. 5/8 inch per ton is $2.58. And the 3/4 inch per ton is $2.24. And I might add, this is just the crushing expense. This is I contract with them to come into a county pit and crush the gravel that the county buys from the landowner. This is just the cost of crushing.
And there is no change from last year's bid on that.
I'll,
Make a
you want a motion on that?
to approve
All
that.
right.
I'd make a motion on that.
Okay, motion by Waterman, second by Gable. Any discussion? My question would be, this is just for the crushing. In those bids, do they have any restriction on time to get it done, and daytime operation and so on? Is that just,
This is just,
yes,
this is
yeah,
not addressing any specific.
sure.
If I decide, for instance, right now the county has permits on 5 locations. If I would decide to go into one of those, I would contact Roy Bromley, and we work it out when we need it and so forth. They've been very good to work with, getting it done when we need
And the reason that I asked that question is when they do crush, it is noisy, and it is dusty and dirty, and then I get phone calls from my neighbors. I don't live that close that it doesn't bother me, and it helps not being able to hear too. But in fact, my grandson and I are entertained by that process. But that's why I asked that question.
Yeah.
I'd like to limit it during the daytime hours, and so they don't start at 4 in the morning and go till 10 o'clock at night, you know, so.
And I remember that situation at your place, that particular pit, that was, the county wasn't involved. But it was close to residences and they were
Yep.
starting pretty early in the morning. And that
Yep.
would have to be dealt with at the time, I would guess.
It's tough on Monday, on wash day, you know, when those clothes are out in the line. Entertain a motion then to accept that bid.
We have
We
a
already
motion
did.
and a second. We just
Oh, who
need to
made the
vote.
motion?
Waterman
Charlie.
made the motion,
Oh.
Gable second.
Oh,
Just
okay.
need to vote.
So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Brownlee has that bid. Thank you.
The asphalt patching material, it appears we have one bid, and that is Dunick Incorporated, office in Greensburg, Minnesota. Their plant is at Weathertown. D-U-I-N-I-N.
We'll start over again.
D-U-I-N-I-N-C-K. Cold mix, or excuse me, the hot mix, we have three different prices. There's one price for 1/2 inch. I'll give you the 1/2 inch is at $73.50 per ton. The 3/4 inch is $68.50. And the mix with 30% recycled asphalt pavement in it is $65.
And we've
Could
been
you
using
repeat
quite
that,
a bit of
please?
that, haven't we?
Yeah, we've been using that on our products, excuse me.
What'd you say that was?
That's with recycled asphalt in it, for the aggregate, and you get a little bit of oil
Yep.
out of the recycled asphalt material too, and that is $65 per ton. The last item is cold mix. That's $116 per ton.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Van Duzen, second by Hanton. Any discussion?
We also will have, I'm putting together bid specifications as, at the current time, an asphalt paving project, which will be resurfacing 4th Avenue for 3 miles and possibly County Road 15 from 212 to the golf course, where there'll be milling and adding 2 inches of asphalt on that road. And in that bid letting, I'll also have a price for picked up at the plant. When they're doing that project, that we can generally get a better price picked up at the plant while they got the plant going for that project. So that's coming up. This is just, you know, I would call in April, as soon as they get their plant going, and we need some for a blowout in the road or something. The prices I quoted here on the hot mixes would be the price we use. But any planned big patching, there'll be another price on that later this time.
Sure. I have a motion
And a second.
and a second. Any more discussion? What about that County Road 6, that project? That's a pretty good sized project there.
Yeah, and that, I haven't started putting that together. That'll probably be in the budget for next year or the following year, but that'll be a similar deal.
Yeah.
From 11 over to a mile
Yeah.
past the interstate, milling a couple inches off and putting a couple inches back on where it got beat up so bad.
All right, any more discussion? Any questions? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I'll take the,
Any
The
hands-
concrete pipe,
take the bids and I'll look them over and
Okay.
I'll get back to you. I don't
Okay.
know if I'll get back today, but if not, we'll do it.
All right.
Rick, can you give us an update too on the fuel? I'd like to stay on top of that
Sure.
as far as.
Sure,
bids.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'll keep you up, pace on that.
Mr. Chairman, so all the concrete products we'll do together, like the pipe, the bridge deck, and the culverts, or,
Yeah,
Yes.
it's usually one motion
Okay.
is
Right.
what we
All
have
right.
done previously.
Yeah, and I would follow up with what Troy said too on the,
Yeah, I'm
on
gonna,
the, you know what works best. If we can get a reduced price at the pump. I know there are some larger companies in Watertown that pass that on down to the employees as well. You know,
Yep.
they go to their, the pump and they have a card to get their, we're lowering your prices. And so, mention that to Jeremy as well.
And Mr. Chair, I'd like the sheriff's office too to be a part of that bid process for their fleet vehicles as well. It, like you said, it's one fill up at a time, but that accumulates over the course of a year. And if we can save some money there, I think that would be beneficial to the county as well.
yeah, like I said, in the past, the last 2 years, I know we've received a letter along with their firm bid that offered the same thing the city is getting at the pump. And
that's
they
a good
could
deal.
probably go off that. All they would, the law enforcement would need, I would think, would be a letter from Cenex saying that they would honor the city's bid price. Basically, it'd be buying off another entity's
Buying off another entity's bid,
bid,
which is
so
allowed.
that would be fine
Correct.
for them.
Yes.
But I'll check on it.
You know, as long as we have Rick front and center, should we bounce back up to number 5, and that's discussion on the insurance offer for his wrecked pickup, or his damaged pickup, to the county highway department? Should we take a look at that while we're here? Let's get her done. Hope you're all right, people, hang on for a minute or
Ask
two.
around, look, that's what the pickup looks like. I did, based on visiting with,
Kind of looks like a farmer pickup now.
somebody asked me how's it feel to drive a banana. But the county's insurance representative came and looked at the pickup. And suggested I did an estimate. I did get an estimate on it, so it was $11,300. Now, the person that ran into me, their insurance rep, came and looked at the pickup and told it out, said they didn't want to have anything to do with fixing it, its frame was bent. And they offered $25,872.43 settlement on that truck. The county paid $28,152 for it back in January of 2015,
How many miles we got on it?
49,000. So that's, I thought that was a
That's a
very
pretty good
fair
deal.
offer, very fair offer.
What was, could you repeat that $20,000, that, no,
$25,872.40.
okay?
Mr. Chairman, do we need a motion to accept that bid? Or that, not that bid, but that settlement amount?
I guess we would need a motion to accept that insurance claim, yes.
Then I would make that
We have a
motion.
motion by Waterman to accept that $25,872.43, is that correct?
Correct. Plus, they're going to give up to $500 to transfer the equipment, my radios, lights and so forth,
Okay.
to another pickup.
Yeah, the pot just getting sweeter, keep talking.
And this is her insurance or the other driver's
Right,
insurance?
yeah.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
like I said, our insurance,
I don't know, you bent the license plate.
Give an estimate and got an estimate, and their insurance company came back, said no, the total.
License plate's bent up, though. I think that's from hooking the boat up.
But primary on this, the person that was driving the vehicle is satisfactory at this point in time?
Yeah, it was actually his girlfriend's vehicle.
I'm talking about you.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, I am gonna go get my neck checked out. I said I was fine, and since then, I've had days at the computer where I've had a twinge in my neck. I think I better get it checked out.
That's a pretty substantial impact there. It
Yeah.
doesn't look like much, but it
Well, we have
takes
a
lot to
motion by
build a frame.
Waterman and a second by Gable. Any more discussion? Rick, you want to continue on with the bad news now?
Yeah, now the bad news. I've looked at the state bid. It takes 6 to 8 weeks, and it's been taken, well, look, like with Steve's pickup, you're looking 8 weeks out to get a replacement pickup. So I did go, and I just started, but I stopped at Sharp Chevrolet, and they did run down a pickup, and it's a fleet truck. Similar to mine, plain Jane's, got rubber mats, steel wheels, nothing very fancy on it, no chrome bumpers or anything. But anyway, the retail price on it was $41,790, but they give a fleet or government discount of $10,828. So the selling price would be $30,962, and then they add a fee of $139. So the cost of the new pickup, just about identical to what I'm driving, is $31,101.
And the difference between what we're going to get and what the new one's going to cost?
I didn't subtract $25,872 from that.
How many miles does this one have on?
Mine's got,
The fleet one?
it's a brand new one.
Oh, that's brand new.
This is brand new, 2018, and they did have some 2015s with like 30,000 miles, real similar to mine, a little more chrome bumpers and everything, but they wanted like 27,000 for that one with 30,000 miles on it, and you only have 6,000 miles of warranty left on it.
What was the difference, Cindy?
About 5,300.
5,300, so you take 40,000 miles, which he has on the one that is damaged,
Almost
at 50 cents a mile. You know, you start looking at, depreciation.
This is only 12 or 13 cents a mile on what it would cost us, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so there's where we sit. Kind of gives you an idea.
This is a brand new one, Rick?
Yes, it was 2018.
So do we need a separate motion, or can we do this all in one? Accept the insurance claim and purchase this?
We do not have agenda action.
Agenda, so it'll have to be done at a different time.
And
And I still want to do some checking.
At some time, we're going to
Okay.
have to declare the old one surplus also.
Right.
At the same time, we purchase a new one if you could.
So,
Yeah.
and Cindy, where would that?
Would you feel comfortable coming back next week?
Yeah, I have no problem.
And so,
No, not next week. That'd be a long trip. I'll be in Mexico. The following week.
We expect you to be here next Tuesday, Rick.
We do have action on the agenda to accept the insurance claim. You can do
yes,
that.
we can do that, and that motion is already on the floor.
Yes.
So is there any more discussion about the insurance claim? Any more discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we have accepted the insurance claim. All right.
And I'm going to do some more checking. Like I said, this was Chevrolet, and they did check around. This pickup actually came from a different dealer, so they did check in the area. But I'm going to do some more checking on pickups
Okay.
too.
So would you be comfortable in 2 weeks from now if we put it on the agenda
Yeah,
to get this done?
yeah.
Would,
The sooner the better.
Mr. Chairman, I just
Yes.
have one more question. Would we be able to keep the other one? I see you're driving it yet. Would we be able to use that until we get the new one? Or
Yeah,
is
I
it
would-
still usable?
It's still usable, drivable. I think the rear axle is out of alignment. I can tell when you're decelerating that it slows down quicker than.
And Rick, I don't know, but I know that Milo, you have that truck that sits out here. Would it be maybe a thing to maybe switch them out temporarily? Or what's the,
No, I don't have. That's what I was saying. If we're getting
okay, so
snow
that
in
has
the
a
next
snowplow
week-
mount. And, sure.
I was just thinking.
And I'm not going to put that many miles on it. Like I said, I'm going to be gone next week. I'm going to finish out the week with it. I've got things to do in the office. I'm not going to be putting a lot of
Okay.
miles on it.
If
So
you
I
stay
think it'll
in
be fine.
Mexico 2 weeks, that'd take care of it.
Well, if it stays this cold, I might.
All right. Any more questions for Rick? Seeing that, thank you, Rick. Appreciate this. And
Yep,
you
not a
will-
problem.
Will
Thanks,
you try
Rick.
to get back to us today on these others, or you want to hold off for 2 weeks?
I've I'm not sure if I.
If we don't see you, it'll be 2 weeks and we'll act on the concrete, on these other bids.
I just got some information too that the sheriff's office is getting the same discount as the city
Oh,
when they
good.
fill up at Senex currently.
Excellent, good.
And what is that? Do you know?
6 cents off price.
Yeah,
Per gallon,
Is that-
6 cents off,
I
yeah.
think that's what it is.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Rick. All right,
Thanks, Rick.
Back in the day,
Have fun on your
Steve?
trip.
Thanks, Rick.
Have you got the weed bids for us?
We think that's
The chemical bids? Dicamba is really hot in the news.
Borrow your letter opener.
You betcha.
DeCamba is in the news, yeah.
Here, I got a fancy one here. Yeah, right here.
That works.
I had a really nice one.
I
Somebody's
believe
got
that one probably is not a bid.
Which one?
I thought it might be.
Oh, you don't
I
think
think,
it is?
no, I think it's a tax
Okay.
deal.
And it's not marked bid, but I don't like to open
So
those.
I didn't want to open it either.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Maybe it's a check.
I could open those for you too.
All right. Mr. Mullengraff, do you have a sheet for us to,
Tax exempt form, all right, I'll take those.
do you have a sheet for us to follow along?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Man, it's even colored.
Looks like it might be only one bid here.
Well, that'll move things along, won't it?
Yep. I'll grab not this hand.
I'll take them all. Man, they're stuck. They must be hot off the press.
They are.
Thank you for doing this. Makes it easy.
Yep. You know, after 7 years of doing it, I finally, well, I had it.
7 years already?
Yes, it is.
What's it seem like?
2.
Oh, I just say 22.
Really does. All right. I guess the only bid that I have is from Bandis Chemical. And to start off with, the aquatic roundup. This is would be Intimidator aquatic glyphosate. It's Dextrol is the manufacturer. The bid is at $12.97 a gallon.
$12?
Yep, $12.97 a gallon.
Is it possible it was $21.87 last year?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm looking at, aquatic.
Correct. I know.
Okay, I'm
Yep.
just curious.
What was the
Okay.
manufacturer on this one and that one, do you know? Is there a difference?
It could
It
very well
might be a difference.
Okay, Van Dees price was the same last
Okay.
year. It was one other vendor that was much
Much
higher
higher.
last year. Okay, all right.
All right, the regular Roundup is Buccaneer Plus glyphosate. That one is well, you know, I don't know why these companies, Procozo, or Procoz, there, Prokoz.
That's a brand name.
Yep. $11.13 a gallon.
That's the glyphosate,
That's the regular glyphosate, yes.
11.13.
It's the same as Buccaneer.
Let's
Yep,
not throw
that's
any
what
more
it is,
names
yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
Let's not make it any tougher than it needs to be, right?
All right, Plateau or the equivalent. He bid it on both products. He bid it on Plateau, which is from BASF. That is at $104.89 a gallon. And Panoramic, which is generic, is at $99.89 a gallon.
99.89.
Yep.
And that's the same as last year.
And the difference of the two products, sometimes the generic doesn't work quite as well as the non-generic.
Probably what my experience was, we got a hot deal on 2,4-D, and when we're filling the tank and we dumped in a pint, and we got about 40 gallons of foam.
Yeah,
See,
that's
some of them will
sometimes
have a
what you get.
defoamer in it, some of them will have an additive in it that'll make it a lot easier to handle, so that's what
Right.
you need to be careful of.
All right, 2,4-D amine, aquatic labeled, which is, we pretty well get everything aquatic because of all the water points that we go by. The manufacturer name is Corn Belt. Price per gallon is $9.23 a gallon. The 2,4-D ester.
You still use some ester, huh?
Yes, we do. We've been starting using ester in the fall applications, and so yeah, when it's a lot safer. Corn Belt is a manufacturer, and the price is $12.93 a gallon. Now the Tordon, 22K, that is a Dow product. That price is $45.97 a gallon.
It hasn't come down much, has it?
No.
That was the same price as last year.
Yep.
Next is Grazon Next by Dow. That price is $44.59 a gallon. The non-ionic surfactant is, brand name is Brewer, B-R-E-W-E-R, 90-10 ratio is $10.39 a gallon.
10 what?
$10.39 a gallon.
Yep. All right, are there any of these that you really want to go back and take a look at? Or you
I
want
don't need to take a look. It's pretty well all of them that we've
This is
used
your
in the past.
recommendation?
Yep, this
I'll
would be
make
my
a motion.
recommendation.
To
All
approve
right, we
his
have a motion by
recommendation.
Hatton, a second
Second.
by Waterman. Any discussion?
That plateau, are we thinking going with the regular or generic?
I think I want to accept both because there might be the, what we do is sometimes is there might be a farmer that needs to apply on some CRP acres, and county entities usually is the only one that really, they can get the plateau from.
Okay.
And usually NRCS recommends using plateau.
Okay.
I have,
the
it's been a
generic-
couple years since I've actually sold any, but I think I still have some on supply, so.
And that's where
It
you
might be
use the
rare.
generic.
Yep. And I will use the generic a lot of times in right-of-ways if they
Okay.
request. Some townships do request using one or the other for the leafy spurge. This is what primarily using leafy spurge in the fall
It's
application.
just about $5 a gallon cheaper for the
Correct.
generic.
Yep.
All right, we have a motion, a second, any more discussion?
Steve, do you have any idea why we only got the one bid this year? I mean,
No
we've
idea.
had
I
three
do
previously.
know that, I did talk to Helen Chemical, and he totally blanked it off and so that, and so I knew he wasn't gonna get it
Okay.
in time. I'm surprised that Hefty hadn't gotten back. I don't know if I needed to go and remind them, but they had
No. it's-
got it once, so I'm
yeah,
not,
Okay.
Well, it was, they got the warning.
right.
That's a-
Typically, it's
Okay.
probably is one of the things is, you know, we are opening up a little bit earlier and partially is.
It was the 7th last year, so,
Okay,
yeah, it's,
it's not that far off
no,
then,
we've
okay.
been pretty consistent, I believe.
Okay. We do use a fair amount of product, though.
Correct, yeah, I use
It's,
a fair amount, especially of the 2,4-Ds and of Tordon also.
It's not like it's such a small amount that they don't bother to bid it.
Right.
It's a good amount.
You know, and like it is the 2,4-Ds, usually it bounces back and forth between, had been with Van Diest or Hefty, so.
Now, are these all 2.5 gallon jug
These,
prices?
some
or-
are in 2.5s, and then some are actually in 250 gallon
Yeah,
totes.
mini bulk.
Yep, mini
Yeah.
bulk stuff.
Anybody, you need to look that over? Are you okay
Nope,
with this?
I'm okay with it.
All right, we have a motion, and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for your work.
You want me to do my report while I'm?
Well, you're here. Let's do it. Yep.
I guess the report on, attended the Sioux Falls Farm Show. I think the numbers was down a little bit compared to last year. Of course, last year they had the snowstorm that followed the first 2 days, so this year it was very good, and they said the attendance on Wednesday and Thursday was really, really high, and down just a little bit. I did meet a few gentlemen from Cottington County or the surrounding area that I did see. I guess, coming up, we got the farm show coming up, is going on now. I will be working the weed booth on Saturday. Otherwise, I will be doing the cleaning and stuff for the event. And then next week is the weed conference coming up. And then also, I have a recertification here this month also in Sioux Falls. So.
That's a travel request. So
Yep.
we'll take a look at it.
All right.
And I can
Oh,
verify, I've been out there the last 2 days at the farm show, and Steve's been busy.
Also to add, and so we got the weed meeting, which is, to put it again, it is February 28th at 6 o'clock and stuff, so.
February
That's when the supper
28th.
starts, yep.
All right. Any questions? Thank you, Steve.
All right.
Let's
Thanks,
go back
Steve.
to work.
Steve,
I don't see Al.
No,
Veteran
Al
Service.
is driving DAV van today, I
Oh,
believe.
he's making the delivery, huh? Sarah, welfare director. Good morning,
Yes,
Sarah.
Or the
Morning, Sarah.
originals, and you take the copies. Ask Debbie to make them for you.
Yep.
I think I gave them part of this already. That's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, cranking her up.
Sarah, you can take that mic off if you need to,
There's 3 there.
off the stand.
Is that right?
It's easier.
You should be set to go.
Then that's up to 4.
Oh, I got 2 of the same here. I don't need,
I did put one in your packets.
oh, I think, yeah,
I think he.
I think I got all 3 then.
Oh,
Are they all 3 the same?
no,
I
you
don't
should
know what
have,
he did. I think he pulled some out of.
yeah.
You had them all separated, so you might have to restart.
Oh,
All right.
I see what I did. I took all 3 off the top.
It's all right.
It's showing, it's in there.
If you want to pass those 2 down, let's see, did
Yep.
you get this?
No, I
There's
don't.
the 2. I'm sorry. I'm not used to having people
I
sort it for
think
me already.
Brenda,
I
the
have
second.
2 Decembers.
Yep, pass one down, there you go. There should
Okay.
be that, there you go. We'll get it.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Oh, did you, oh, sorry, you'd already, I didn't see that.
Trying to shorten the distance.
That's all right. Oh, and I forgot to put up, okay, the report itself I forgot to put up on this, sorry. Just December's report, we had 37 people that were served. 12 of those were medical, and 12 utilities and 7 housing. Those were our highest. We had December 12th, the Stepping Up meeting. So nothing too significantly different. I always try to give a story. This last month, actually, just a few weeks ago, I was contacted by the sheriff's office. There was by an individual who had previously contacted the court systems and the judge. It was a homeless individual. He had showed up at the detention center requesting to be found not complying with his probation, just so he could be booked, so he could have a bed. So
You want it back in.
yeah, well,
That's what
he hadn't
about
been in, and he hadn't really violated his probation yet, and just literally that day became homeless. So I met with him. I did an assessment. The individual was a veteran, and I get excited when they're a veteran because of the ESG program through Jack Smith. So I contacted him. He came to the office, and he met with this individual, and he began his process. And then while that was going on, worked with the sheriff's office to work with the Salvation Army to help secure a hotel for that night. Because even with that ESG, it takes just a little bit of time. And then I was kind of the runner for the 2 in between and stuff. But it just was an example of great teamwork. By the end of the day, got the guy taken care of, was able to work. I was able to get some of the information to help support the Jack Smith's, the veterans case manager process. The one thing I learned I didn't know, which is, I think, very advantageous, that the caseworker with the veteran ESG program, he can run that person around. So we don't have that ability, and so he was able to take them to the different places to look at and stuff like that. So that's pretty.
Bottom line, he has a place to live and he has a job.
Yep, and it took
Thank you, Sarah.
took a team of us, but kudos to everybody for just reaching out.
Those in the audience, I hope that they hear this and understand that there are people that actually appear and want to get locked up again just because of the fact they don't want to be out in the cold and they're hungry. So thank you for doing that.
Try to escape and then go back into presentation mode and see if it switches around.
Okay, so then, there we go, okay. So then here we have just the annual report for 2017. Cottington County savings was about $162,000. I do want to point out the significance of that is medical. $107,000 of that was medical and $29,000 was prescription. Our cost was about a little over $16,000. Just so with those savings, just to clarify so you guys have that understanding, these are people who would qualify for county assistance that we were able to alleviate the need for financial funds through case management or other resources or a combination. Like the story I just gave you, if we didn't have those other resources then and stuff, the county would have had that. So to clarify that, what that means when we're looking at those savings. Any questions on that?
That's a great number.
Okay. And that medical is just significant. I've got a couple just to keep your heads up right now that may not be right now that we made. That medical number can easily in one shot just shoot up pretty significantly. So basically what that's saying is we didn't have any significant claims. I've got a lot sitting on my desk right now that our costs are going to be $20,000 to $50,000. So
if they are 20 to 50,000, can we apply for catastrophic medical?
if they're over
for
20,
relief?
if the county is liable and they're over
Okay.
20, we have I'll talk about the catastrophic
All right.
fund. Good thing to bring up. We haven't had to do that for a long time, but at the end I'll mention that. I have that on
Okay.
the screen. So then our next. In 2017, there was 375 people that were served. These aren't all applications, but people that we've worked with and talked to. For the prescription, we just noted Caremark is one per month, even though, like within the report, it'll show you that several people are served. But it's just something that it's just done so automatically. We just count that as one person per month. On average, I want to say 30 to 40 people use that program. That is through our NACO that we're able to utilize. That's a prescription card. One of the numbers that was down a little bit was homeless. There's only 6. I know some of the difference of that. We have been trying to be more proactive to work with people before they get to that point of crisis, but I also know there's been some changes with some landlords that work with us. So instead of actually throwing people out, or even when they get people in, if they know we're going to do some case management, they'll work with them, but they won't do a lease agreement. They want to be able to say, hey, this isn't working out. So that would be a reason for that, part of the reasons for that. But there's still some there you can't account for. Definitely an increase in the medical that we've seen. Some of that increase, I'm seeing a lot more involuntary commitments to a bear, and those bills come to me, and I have to determine whether they truly are involuntary, voluntary process on that, because they like to slip those through, and type thing. So when you look at the below that just kind of shows you, we have our trends of those services. The pie chart just gives you where the percentages of times that we work on it is spent. So then on the bottom right-hand corner, you have your cost of services provided. When you look at that medical, you're going to have seen a drop. We saw a drop. A lot of it had to do with the Affordable Care Act helped us to avoid some claims, because a person can be indigent by design, which means if you have the ability to purchase insurance and it's affordable, the county can deny a medical claim. Well, with the Affordable Care Act, there was no longer the pre-existing condition, so that's significant. That was a large number of people that we were helping. Even if we wanted to get them on insurance, we couldn't. Now we can at least get them on insurance on that sense. The other is then actually it's affordable for them to buy that. But there's still a small gap of people. If their income is under 100%, there isn't anything for them. So we do potentially have that's where our biggest risk is at for the county on those type. And then your other that you look at, you have the burial. I had to just do a little digging to see the lower numbers. 2017, we had 5 applications, 2 denials. We had In 2014, there were 5 burials. In 2015, there were 4 burials. 2016, there were 6. In 2017 was 3. So when I look at that, I would have thought 2015 numbers would have been closer. So then I looked at why. Well, we had more people that had benefits that were reduced those costs or paid up front. Also the difference between a cremation and a traditional burial because the cost differences. So those are some variables of why you see those price differences. They weren't adding up to me. That's why I looked into that further. Any questions on that information there?
Sarah, can you give me the years again and the numbers?
Yes. So 2014, there was 5.
Okay,
2015, there was 4.
okay,
2016, there was 6.
okay,
2017, there were 3.
okay.
And then I just pulled the apps. We had pulled it before, but 2017, we had 5 applications and 2 denials. And I think that's pretty consistent to what we have. The next is, and I didn't get this updated, it's updated on your sheet, is just where time spent by service and the average time service per hour. This is just where the time is spent. It matches, mostly between medical and housing and burial. Those are the three top. Average time per service hours, this is what it takes for us to work with individuals. In these cases, your highest is going to be your burial homeless. It just takes a lot more work to get those resources. The medical has dropped down to 4. I do anticipate that might increase. We have a lot of outstanding. We got a lot of claims in October, November, December, and that's what I'm working on right now. And that time that's put into that individual claim, we'll see that jump up a little bit on there because on average it takes about 8. Those are can be litigations, and if we don't, well, some of them are at the time when we're working on them too. So, but also we've seen a lot of increase in voluntary commitments to Avera, so that accounts for some of that time there. But it all looks pretty even rate. Nothing stands out too far. And I wanted to point out with the costs, like with the burials, you're not going to see as significant necessarily in those savings. You're going to see more costs. You don't really have necessarily resources to pass that on to, except for GoFundMe, I thought. You know what I mean? Where that's the one thing that kind of the buck stops. Here we don't have federal, state programs to look to on that, so that's always going to have a higher driving cost. This is just a outlook of the trends, overall costs, expenses the last 10 years, so they're pretty consistent. You can see a little bit where where the recessions hit a little bit. The first is just the welfare office. The bottom number is the catastrophic care of poor. Cindy mentioned that a little bit earlier. If we ever have a claim of $20,000 or more, we can submit it to the catastrophic poor. We pay the first $20,000 and then $10,000 above that. In 2012, I was on a committee. The state used to handle the catastrophic funds, and then in 2012, that went over to the county SDAC, the South Dakota Association of County Officials, to handle. When I was serving on the Welfare Association board, we did a lot of training for the state's attorneys, commissioners, and welfare directors to really help them understand what qualifies, what doesn't, and we wrote the policies on what's qualifying. And that's had a significant impact of decrease of claims statewide, and I think it's holding up pretty good, and I think it runs on its own pretty well. So
I sit on that statewide board, and I'm in my 8th year now of doing that, and I've never had a claim from Cuyahoga County yet. They come primarily from Minnehaha and Rapid City area, but never as of yet. So it's been good. I get the review of the team that reviews the information, and it comes to me in a packet about like that, and it's got, the cost of aspirin and the whole 9 yards, and I page through it. And I think the very first one that I got when I just went aboard that board was right at bumping $1 million. That kind of scared the bejeebers out of me. So,
The money.
Does that one operate kind of like the legal defense, the catastrophic legal, where we just pay into a pool?
yeah, and that when you were saying that, I think I should step back and clarify what that is. So all counties contribute into this pool, and then we pay it out. And part based on the expenses. The pool itself has enough funds, so we haven't had to contribute. So the more claims statewide, the more that each county, and it's divvied up by capita, your costs.
You said our amount would be $20,000.
It-
It's like the deductible, basically.
Correct.
Yes, if we ever, so I work pretty hard not to. I do my best to try to find other resources for people. We've had some significant claims where we've been able to get
Like I said,
other
in
resources.
about the 8 years I've been on the board, we've never had one from Godin County, so.
We've had some that have made me pretty close and sweat pretty good, that thinking we would. I mean, and it just is. It either is or it isn't. We work
The
hard to
amount,
find other resources.
Our share that we paid in 2017 was $1,904.
Yep.
Is that what you have?
That's our contribution to that fund.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is a
And if you even go prior to
good
20,
good investment.
and if you
Yeah.
go prior to 2012, I think I didn't report that, but the numbers were significantly higher. It's just been a constant decrease on that.
All right, any questions for Sarah? Anything? All right, Sarah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
All right, the group out here has been patiently waiting, and I thank you for doing that. Discussion with representatives from the Henry Township Council regarding property taken by the tax deed process.
Henry Town.
Henry Town.
Yep.
Carol was in here. She's
Here
still
she is.
here. Yeah. So, you want to come on up too, Carol? And who is our representative from Henry?
Can I give you,
Don Larson, President of the Board.
All right, Don, thank you
Don,
for
I'm going to give you
coming.
this mic. I just ask you to use it, if you would, please, for our meeting.
If you'd introduce yourself once more so Don can, you're on the radio and you're on TV right now, or on the computer, so smile.
Not live, but YouTube.
I'm Don Larson, President of the Board in Henry. And thanks for taking the time to have a little discussion on this property. I know we've talked a little bit about it. The town's opinion is that the property valuation is grossly misleading, and we would like you to reconsider what the actual amount would be that you would accept for this property. This first set of pictures shows the property lines in relationship to the house. It does sit across the property line.
Right through the middle.
Yeah, it's substantially on the other side of the line. There is an easement there that would go with the next owner. However, the next set of photos here,
Just for clarification, that property is,
206 Elm Street.
And the current assessed value is $43,098.
And these, I have two sets of photos here, are to demonstrate that we believe that property value is actually a minus. The house is uninhabitable, and it is not structurally sound, has holes in the foundation, and the structural support beams are sagging. So I don't know that that house is even salvageable.
well, it's got several $100 worth of Cindy signs on it though, so.
Well, and I only put one picture in there showing that.
Yeah, we're saving tax dollars.
For those of you that don't know what is being referred to, Cindy's campaign material is,
Which I thought were blank on
which is
one
nailed to
side.
the outside of the house, covering some of the windows, so.
So I have campaign signs boarding up this house.
This is an estimate from Badger Works to demolish.
Who's Badger Works? Oh, that's,
Excavation
okay.
company to demolish and remove the buildings. That does not include refilling the basement or regrading the property. So our opinion is that this property is a deficit. It's going to take thousands of dollars to get it to a flat lot that would be worth approximately $7,000.
Send those that way.
Well, Don, I can say that I went over there and I've been over and looked at the house myself. I've been over there and watched it deteriorate over a period of time. And eye, it's very, very deceiving. It's a structure that should be torched, unfortunately.
Well, and we talked to the fire department about perhaps burning it, but the relation between that house and the adjacent house is closer than what they're comfortable with. So it would have to be, at best, pushed to the rear of the property and burned might be an option. But my concern is the equalization department has increased the value on this property during the course of the years when it should have been devalued because it's been vacant and deteriorating for years, and every year the valuation goes up to the point of 25 to 30%. And so I have a big concern with the equalization department and whether there's any oversight there or not, because this property is grossly misvalued. And it gives me concern for other properties in Henry, which equalization meeting will be coming up. We'll have to look at some of those, but in this particular one, it's going to cost thousands of dollars to get rid of this place.
Is there a lien or tax on this property?
Cindy?
There are delinquent taxes on the property totaling with interest and penalty $5,485.41, and the county has also incurred costs for the publications that we have to do to take a property by tax deed of $187.55. So the back taxes plus the tax deed costs come to $5,672.96.
Our concern is that those taxes are based on the value of $40,000, and the house should be worth zero. Maybe it could pay tax on the lot, but the back taxes owed on there are against a $40,000 property, which this obviously is not. So we're wondering what you would propose to us would be a fair value if we could come to an agreement on this, because the city would like to obtain this property either for a green space or a park, or it is a potential future site for a storm shelter. One of these maps shows the relationship of the low-income apartment buildings and several trailer homes in that area. So a storm shelter, that'd be a nice.
So your intent, if you can acquire this property, is to remove the structure that's on it and make it a green space?
Absolutely.
To clean it up?
Yep.
We also have a major problem with the lot line going directly through the center of the house. And that we had that before in a piece of property, where was that,
It's over
Brenda?
by the stadium.
And that would give us a chance to correct that and make it right and true on a building that's obviously uninhabitable or will be uninhabitable again.
So our thoughts are, if you were to forgive those taxes, we're still going to have a $10,000 liability. And that's without any taxes. So our other thought is, do you want to get rid of this property and then we'll work out a deal on the lot, or what might you propose?
Here's another point of interest. If we do, abate these taxes, the major share of this tax bill is money that would have gone to the school, the Henry School
Exactly right.
District. There's just another, the county would have gotten some, the city of Henry would have gotten some, Henry School, the bookmobile, and a water district. So,
Well, given that, would we have the authority to abate all those taxes? I mean, or does that have to be, those other boards need to be involved in that?
Say that again, Lee. I
Or
didn't.
do we have the authority to abate all of those, is the question, or would those other boards need to be involved in that with the Henry School Board and et cetera?
once it's been taken by tax deed, it's up, this board has it's up to
Okay.
this board.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Have we,
Okay.
sorry.
Good.
Have we in the past
Question. Oh, go ahead, Brenda. I'm sorry.
done something like this where if we turn it over to another entity like a city or, like in Watertown, what have we typically done in those instances?
They paid the tax balance due plus the cost of taking it, which is why we're sort of discussing the $5,000 balance.
You had a meeting the other night with the town council.
what's your proposal on this?
Well,
I mean, to fill it in, and it looks like to me, if you're going to, the cost to the city of Henry is going to be to fill this in, and to remove the structure is going to be maybe about $13,000.
yeah, well, unless we're able to work with the landowner on the west side of the property, and if they would allow us to push the material back there and burn it, we'd save the cost of hauling, which is a major part of that.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
Was that 11.5?
That's 11,000, right?
11.5.
But that, again, doesn't include filling in the basement and regrading that ground, because there'll be the concrete slab where the garage sits and all of that to take care of. The city would be willing to accept the property, but I don't know that they're willing to pay anything for it because of the expenditures we have. And I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but now the county is the property owner, and they are, according to First District, responsible to make it comply with the city ordinances. That one of them is the nuisance ordinance, which would require, or makes it illegal to maintain a building that is dilapidated to the point that it's uninhabitable.
So if we don't decide to move forth with this as proposed by him, will this property eventually go to auction? Okay.
And my understanding is there is another party that's interested in that
Okay.
property.
I'm
So-
aware of that and who that is, and they, just so you know, already have other properties in town, one of which has had a basement sitting there for 5 years that we can't get him to cover up or put a roof on it, 'cause there are trees growing out of it, so I don't have good faith that this property would be taken care of.
But in an auction, the high bidder gets it. That's the way that is.
Right, I
And
understand.
you know that, Mr. Larson. I'm
I
sure.
do.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, myself, I would be happy with just the taxes being paid to settle that, if that's what it would take to move this forward. Obviously, you said the town council has no interest in paying anything.
Town council would be interested in
but-
paying taxes if they were based on an accurate valuation. There's no way this house is worth $43,000.
And that's going to be up for discussion with the Director of Equalization to determine that, but it is what it is right now.
What would just the taxes alone be? Are you working on that?
$5,485.41 are the
It's-
back taxes.
And then the costs were 187.55.
Yeah, so 5,672.96
Correct.
is what is
the money
actually.
is what the county has invested at this time, yes.
So on an appraised value of $43,000, $43,098, the difference would be $26,425 that the county would basically take a loss on the appraised value of that property, if the taxes were just paid. Am I correct on that?
If that's what it sells for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it all depends on.
Which we all know that that's not going to happen, but that's the appraised value.
Okay, what's the consensus?
Actually, we have no action
No
scheduled for
action.
today. This is discussion only, so.
It's something that we need to mill over, and Mr. Larson, you have to understand that we're spending your money, our money, the Cottington County taxpayers'
I
money.
understand that very well.
Yes, and the thing is that the dollars that we're talking about will come back into the county in terms of the school tax, return to the school and the county, you made that mention, right?
Say that again?
Okay, of the $5,672, a lot of that will come back to the
Over
school district.
$3,000 would come back to the to the Henry School District.
Correct, right.
And then the other a lesser portion to the county, the city, the bookmobile.
So you could look at it as an investment in your school district, if it makes you feel better.
I could, but I also look at what's true and fair value on things also. I agree that taxes should be paid, but not at an exorbitant rate.
Well, we have to discuss that with our equalization people.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Shoot.
The county or the city of Henry is going to be kicking in this $3,000 at the present rate to the school, right? But isn't that to get that money, it has to come from the rest of the taxpayers, so that in essence, the city is not paying those taxes.
Well, you're correct. In other words, all taxpayers in Cottington County is what you're referring to. That's right. So it's not just the city of Henry.
But we got a bigger problem. That's a safety factor over there.
I understand. Yes, it is. What about that? I've been over there, and I didn't go in the house. I didn't, but I did. The garage that's in the back, that building in the back part of the lot, to me, that, I don't know, am I mistaken? That looked like it might be salvageable.
No.
It isn't?
No.
Well, I wasn't in it, so I don't know.
This shows looking from the street side right through the back of that garage.
I'm inclined to just say,
Well, there's a lot of good lumber in there.
Well,
Is,
it's not a good garage.
has there been any date set for like a county sale at this point? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd kind of suggest that maybe we just get together with the treasurer and the Department of Equalization, have you guys discuss this, and then maybe, I don't know if the state's attorney would need to be.
Carol, I
sure.
haven't given you a chance to chime in here. What are you wish to share any thoughts?
I just, how we've handled similar properties in the past was we sold them, like the one last spring, to the city of Watertown. The piece of property that they bought was unbuildable. They had to knock it down. It was in the middle of the floodplain. There was nothing redeemable about that one either. But the city of Watertown had to pay the taxes and the cost of taking deed in order to get the property. And I'm just saying that seems to be the precedent and seems to be the fair way to do it, because we got, other than just the county saying yes or no, you've got other districts that are involved. You've got the school district, you've got the town, the bookmobile, the other, taxing entities that we're responsible, or I feel that we're responsible to, at the same time making sure that they're made as whole as possible. But as we said, it's up to the board to decide that ultimately.
Sure.
If you want to do some more visiting about it, that's.
And I think that's what we'd like to do.
Can I ask you a question? Have you spoken with I am sure you have already spoken with the adjacent property owner. What is his thoughts on that property line issue, potentially? He's
He's not happy about it. He mows around the house there. 'Cause
Okay.
He knows where his property line is, so he's got
Sure.
to mow around that. And he parks his trailers and his vehicles right next to the building, so he would just soon have the whole thing gone also. But I don't believe the house is salvageable. You could have experts look at it. I know if we had a building inspector come and look at the property, the value would be less than zero. I agree that the school should be made whole and all these different things, but I also agree that it's our responsibility to have fair and accurate valuations on properties that are being taxed.
Yep, and I don't think there's one member on this commission that would disagree with that. Okay.
So if the fair valuation on that property was the cost of the lot, and we would pay the taxes on $7,000 instead of $40,000 over that course of time, I'm saying we would want to be fair also.
Sure.
But fair is fair. I mean, we can clearly see that house has zero value. In fact, it's a deficit, so.
There is one thing I'd like to bring up, and you didn't bring it up, Don. All these pictures that were taken were legally done with the okay of the sheriff.
Right. We did get permission to enter the property and take photos.
Any other questions for Don or for Carol at this time? I think you're right. I think we need to have a little bit more discussion on this, and as soon as we come to a consensus, we will get back to you, Mr. Larson, okay?
Thank you for your time.
Don, we
You bet.
appreciate the
Thank
town
you.
of
Thank
Henry.
you for
wanting to
waiting. We
move forward with
appreciate
this.
that.
We really do. We'll work with you if we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. All right, let's go to number 8, action to approve abatement applications.
I have 7 abatements that have been sent to various taxing districts. Most of them are in the city of Watertown. Of the 7 abatements, 6 of them are property owners who qualify for a state program that would reduce their assessment. And the 7th one is a tax-exempt entity that purchased a piece of property which resulted in abatement for a certain number of months. So the total of these abatements are $3,131.80.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Hatton, second by, who made that second? Gable? Any discussion?
And I do need to mention that the property owners do qualify for the applications that they have
And they have
submitted.
been approved by the city.
They have been approved by the city of Watertown.
All right, we have a motion, a second. Any more discussion? Any more? Any more discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Number 9, action to fill a correctional officer position. Tom has been waiting patiently. Thank you, Tom. With an internal promotion due to a resignation of a full-time employee. So go ahead, Tom, and fill us in.
Recently, we had a full-time employee who, in April, she would have been a 10-year employee, but during her time at the detention center, she continued her education, earned a master's degree, and she is going to move on from the detention center to do something else. So,
Sure.
and we are just hoping to be able to fill that position with somebody who is currently a part-time employee.
Would you then, whoever you would move into that position, you would want to rehire a part-time or another one to replace her, or?
Yes, and we just recently had to part ways with one of our part-time employees.
Okay.
It's been the policy of this board to allow
Advertise.
to allow the detention center to maintain a pool of part-time employees.
Sure.
So,
I'll make a motion that
We have a
we
motion by Hatton to, what's the motion?
allow the correctional officer to move that internal promotion due to the resignation.
And is there a second to
I'll
that
second
motion?
that.
A motion by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. There you go, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Go
you.
ahead.
Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
We skipped 10.
Correct.
And we're going to go to 11, action to approve a project to locate and run cables for moving of offices during the courthouse renovation project. And Milo was still here. Thank you for hanging in there, Milo. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. This agenda item is for relocating the equalization office into a vacated space where the clerk of courts will leave. So it's kind of outside the scope of the remodel, in essence. I mean, there's no structural changes or anything taking place over there. It's just, relocating an office within the building. We're not able to get a definite number on the cost of doing this. It's probably going to be labor intensive. Worst case scenario, I would say, we were looking at, an estimate from Engelstad Electric was like $6,500, which would be, unable to locate, any existing cable runs, from point A to point B and having to run everything new. In reality, probably come in much less than that, I would hope, but basically it's going to be a time and material type job. So that may go over the, more than likely go over that $2,000 threshold that we have set for coming for permission, but like I said, I don't have a firm price for doing that, so how would you like to handle that?
Well, we can make a motion to not to exceed $6,500. if you think that'd be the worst-case scenario, we can do that, can't we, Cindy?
You can do that, but it still has to be done.
I know.
Milo, that number that you just threw out there, was that a quote, I mean, just off their cuff?
That's a high-end
for them, or how did
estimate?
you
Yeah,
come about
that was
number?
an estimate they provided.
Okay.
I would make that motion then.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gable. What is the motion that you're making then?
To authorize the maintenance.
Not to exceed?
Up to 60, yeah, 6,500 for moving cables to, and this is to move the equalization office to where the clerk of courts currently is now when the time comes in the process of the overall remodel project.
Does everybody understand that motion now?
Yes.
All right, good.
Question, Lee, is this will be all part of the bigger project then?
It's part of the, well, it's.
Or bigger
remember, we had-
picture.
Yeah, it's part of the bigger picture, but remember, we had to budget some funds off, a little separate from the remodel project, and so that, the total of that was 40,000. We budgeted 17,000 for this kind of thing, and then 23,000 for getting the nurse over to the other location. Now, some of that, those were estimates, so what I'm seeing now, and I should probably, I've been trying to track this as best I can, but I think we're going to have to be looking at possibly some commissioner's contingency down the road, or between those two budget items, making that fit the best we can. So that's, but right now, yeah, it's budget.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Oh,
Is there a second? We've had quite a bit of discussion, but is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a second by Commissioner Waterman. Any more discussion?
Lee, when you said, what was it, 17,000 that was budgeted for these kinds of things, are you talking about unforeseen?
No, things like, because we knew we have to move the officers over to the auditorium, for example. There'd be some carpeting, some painting, and things like that. There'd be and the thing that we're not acting on this week about the moving the internet service and phone lines and things like that. So we knew those kinds of expenses were going to be there, and those were not in the architect's estimate for the remodel.
Okay.
Correct. And that was one thing I guess I would like to point out or clarify. This is actually outside of the architectural project itself.
But it's
so I mean,
related.
it's not part of their bid process because it's
But we tried.
outside of that scope.
Yeah, and so, but we tried to do our best to budget for that, and so.
Would this be considered a temporary movement, or
No.
is that, they're going to be permanent?
Permanent.
Yeah, okay.
Until somebody changes their mind.
Yeah, okay.
Let's not do
A
that.
question, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman. This, you mentioned Ingolstadt, and I know they do good work, but is there another company that would be interested in doing this project also?
Oh, I'm sure there is. The reason I went with Ingolstadt or requested a price from them is they're the most familiar with the building. They've done most of the data wiring and that type of thing already. So, hopefully we'll have some savings there just because they're familiar with what they're working with.
One of the questions that we should have asked, what happens if we find a pile of money in some of these walls? Who gets that?
I'd say we apply it to the project.
Just to
Mr. Chairman.
clarify that before we start,
I think that should be directed towards Memorial Park.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, we got our sign. We got our sign, I'm happy.
Okay, we've heard, we have a motion and a second. We've had some good discussion and some senseless discussion, but we had to have fun too. So, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks.
Milo.
Thanks, Milo.
Will you be able to come back next week on item number 12? Or you need more time?
That's the
Or
internet
10.
hookup.
Yeah.
10.
My apologies for that one. I misworded the agenda request on that one, so I'll
We'll forgive
take
you.
that one on and we'll give it another run next week and I'll get the correct wording to Cindy this night.
We'll forgive you.
And just so everybody knows, this is all about, Milo's working on, he's the guy working on getting everybody moved around for
Yeah.
the remodel. So that's what this is all about, so.
Thank you for your efforts. We
Thanks, Milo.
appreciate it.
Our highway superintendent is back. If you
Yeah,
want.
let's, is it all right if we
Yeah, we can jump back to bids.
go back to, Rick, you got some information for us on the proposed bids?
Yeah, I do, just a little clarification. On the concrete pipe, first item, 24-inch per foot. Both Semcast and Forterra bid Class 3 concrete pipe there,
Yep.
and Semcast was low. When we go to the 36-inch, Semcast bid Class 3 at $49.47. Forterra bid Class 2 at $56.86. When you convert their price to Class 3, Forterra's price for 36-inch would be $61.41. So they would be substantially higher than Semcast. On the 60-inch, Semcast did not bid round 60-inch culvert. They bid arch Class 3 at $210.84 per foot. Forterra's arch pipe Class 3 is $210.71, a little bit lower than Forterra on that, just pennies. But across the board, that's the reason why there were such big discrepancies when I originally gave you the prices. One was bid in Class 2, which is a lighter pipe, and one was bidding heavier, and one was bidding round pipe, and one was bidding arch. It appears to me that over the long run, all the concrete pipe, Semcast is the lower.
So is that your recommendation?
Recommendation on the concrete pipe to accept the bid of Semcast.
I'll make that
We have a
motion.
motion by Hatton. Second by Waterman. Any discussion? My question is Class 3, Class 2, is Class 2 heavier or lighter than Class 3?
Class 2 is lighter.
It goes the opposite is than nails.
Yep.
Or steel.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. All right, we have a motion, a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And that's the only discrepancy. The bridge deck and the box culverts, Forterra is the only one that bid, so I would recommend the acceptance of theirs.
Did we accept those?
No, we did not.
No.
Okay,
No, we left all, normally we take these all as one motion, but because of the difference here,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll make
We-
the
we-
motion to.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Okay, Waterman, or Gable made a motion, and what is your motion?
To accept the bid of Forterra for bridge deck and box culverts,
Okay, for bridge deck and
concrete
for
box
box
culverts.
culverts.
Yeah, the
And I
bottom two on the
seconded it.
first page.
Yeah.
Okay.
You heard the motion, and
And
the
a second.
second was by who?
I did.
Hatton. Any discussions? When they deliver box culverts, do they deliver them in sections?
Yes.
No,
That's
it's
a price per foot, and they're in like 8-foot sections,
Okay,
most of
yep.
them.
Been around this stuff forever.
And you can get different lengths, barrel length.
Sure.
You can get them in different lengths.
That's what I did when I came out of the Navy the first summer. I built box culverts on the interstate north of Brookings. So
Oh.
I'm very familiar with box culverts.
And that's all. I'm still making copies of the rest of the bids. I'll get them back to you this afternoon.
We have a motion and a second. We need to vote on it. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Before-
Motion carries.
Before you get away, Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Shoot.
You got round culverts, you got box culverts, you got arch culverts. Explain an arch culvert to me, please.
An arch culvert is designed, if you have only so much clearance, the road, for instance, underneath this desk, if you take a 36-inch culvert, it wouldn't fit under this desk. It'd be too tall. If you take a 36-inch arch, which is basically a squashed 36-inch culvert, it's an oval culvert.
Oh.
You get increased volume for the same actual size of the opening.
Same, yeah,
Same
just a
type.
squash
Yep.
pan.
That's the difference.
Thank you.
And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, let's move on then to item number 12, action to appoint commissioners to the BHJWG. I like these acronyms here. And note commissioners' previous appointment to the CCJAC on the roster of annual commissioners, board appointees. That being said, for clarification, Mr. Gable, Commissioner Gable, would you explain
Yeah.
what is
That's
BHJWG?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. That's the charter we approved a few weeks ago, the Behavioral Health and Justice Working Group. So that's basically the Stepping Up initiative
Yep.
put into a bit more formalized working group. And so since you and I had been the ones working on that, with me it was because I was the jail liaison. With you it was because you were the welfare department liaison. And we had an initial meeting. I ended up getting appointed chairman, but that's going to be pending me being appointed to this board. And so we talked about adding, the last meeting we added the Behavioral Health and Justice Working Group and the CCJAC to the list of that annual list of boards that we approve every year, the first few meetings of the year. And so, but I didn't have on the agenda to appoint anybody to that. So that's what that's about. And then the other point about the CCJAC, that's a 2-year appointment. Both of these would be 2-year appointments. The CCJAC currently, Commissioner Van Dusen and I are appointed to that one, and our appointment for that one expires at the end of this year. So you'd have to reappoint beginning of next year for the CCJAC. So
For
that's
clarification, it's you and I that are currently serving on the BHJWG committee,
Yeah, correct.
and it's you and Troy that are on the
CCJAC.
So we need to
yeah.
formally, since now we have a charter, we just need to formally appoint you and me to the behavioral health.
All right.
Justice Working.
Is that a motion then?
Yeah, I'll make that
We
motion.
have a motion by Commissioner Gable to make those appointments. Is there a second?
Second that.
A second by Hatton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Lee. Now, let's go on to 13, which might need some clarification action to make clarifying amendments to the list of commissioner board assignments and duties.
Yeah, so in the process, it might be, I probably should have asked for this agenda item to read discussion and possible action, so we might want to just talk about it for now, and but we could take action if we're comfortable. So, and I apologize if it is a little bit confusing. So what happened was I was looking at this list of, because I wanted to add the CCJAC and the Behavioral Health and Justice Working Group to this list so that it would become a permanent thing, so we wouldn't forget to do it year to year as time goes by, just like these other things. But then I started to look at some of the things that I was appointed to, like victims assistance, and I realized that, well, I'm the victims assistance liaison. However, there's no victims assistance board, and so it looks redundant, like there's some board that's meeting, but so basically the idea is I thought, well, maybe there's some other ones on here, so I asked some of the department heads, like, for example, is there a dive rescue committee, is there an emergency management committee, is there a highway committee that meets, and they're meant to reflect liaisons. So I think what happened, and I just discussed this a little bit with the auditor, it sounds like what happened is this list existed before they had liaisons, and so then they just, for whatever reason, we just never got around to kind of cleaning it up. So for everything that's lined out, there should be a liaison down below. That's the idea. So it's just to eliminate redundancy. If you want to look at it, make sure it makes sense, and if there's something that looks erroneous. The other thing that occurred to me as I was sitting here is that it might be better to list the liaisons first on this, because that's kind of the more important thing I think that we do day to day is our liaison duties. The boards, so you have a nice clean document, and it helps with transparency, I think, for the public. If we say, yeah, we're the liaison for such and such an office, and then also we have this other duty that's not a liaison duty, or this other board that we actually are a member of, like Brenda's on the ICAP board. So, and that's listed on here. Charlie and Brenda are on the local emergency planning committee. That's not a liaison duty. That's a separate board. So that's kind of the idea. So it's just, I just thought it'd be nice to clean it up so that we could be clear on what we're talking about as going forward.
Charlie, you had a question, didn't you? Are you clear now?
Well, it's much clearer. Before, there was a list with a whole bunch of crossed out names on here, and not a lot of explanation, nor was there any contact beforehand. so, listening to the explanation is much clearer now, but I think I'd like to just put this off till a future time and take a look at it.
Okay.
I have one question, the building and grounds.
Yeah, I talked to Milo about that and said, is there a separate buildings, because it looks kind of like there's a buildings and grounds committee, but no, he said, no, there's, he'd be the guy that would know.
So that would fall under maintenance.
So it falls under
Well,
maintenance.
So that's under,
But I'm wondering about Memorial Park.
yeah.
Where does Memorial Park fall
That would
under?
be, he's the maintenance supervisor, so that would fall under him.
What-
I mean, that's-
okay,
if you
all right.
want- Now, if we feel the
So-
need to say that.
Well,
then
no,
maybe-
I just want to make sure that,
Yeah.
that is covered.
The goal here is clarity for ourselves and for the public. So that's the goal. So if we want to put, say, under the liaison assignments, maybe we put emergency management office, or I'm sorry, maintenance department in Memorial Park.
Maybe,
Well, you
yeah,
brought up
Yeah.
Go-
so-
I would.
You brought up a good point, Brenda, but if I was a member of the public and I looked at this maintenance department, I wouldn't have a clue as to what it was for.
Well, that's the thing, because on building and grounds right now, it's Lee and Troy, and if we go to maintenance, it goes to Charlie.
Charlie, yeah. it's
That
little
one's a
different.
little confusing, yeah, I admit that. Well, then let's do this. I'd suggest we postpone this, or just table it. And then
It's a work in
we
progress.
just work on it.
Yep.
I can see where there is some redundancy in here. There's
That's-
maybe some boards that are not directly.
That's the only one that wouldn't fall under our liaison,
But
I believe.
And I noticed that, that's why I talked to Milo about that, and he said there's no board.
No, it's not a
But if you want to
board.
put that as a duty, say, kind of then, or we could maybe put it under liaison, just as a separate liaison, kind of like, I have both state's attorney and victim's assistance. Well, victim's assistance is part of the state's attorney, but you could put maintenance department. So for Charlie, you could put maintenance department and Memorial Park.
Mr. Chair,
just
if
add that.
I may, looking at the board/duty here, if I was a member of the publicly, and I appreciate and I get what you're saying in terms of trying to clean it up, but if I had a question about who to go see for emergency management, I don't want to go talk to the director, I want to talk to the commissioner. Down here, you can see emergency management office, and I understand that, but if you had a question about who maintains the grounds at Memorial Park, like Brenda just said, you're not going to know that maybe you need to go see
Yeah.
Charlie.
Well, then why don't we,
Maintenance
let's work on
department.
making that
This
clear.
this is like plain English to me.
Yeah.
And
That
it's
might
gonna
be the only
clearer
one that's
for-
in question is building and grounds wouldn't hurt to maybe leave that one, even though there's no specific
well, then we need
board,
to-
but everything else falls underneath the liaison. That's the only one that we,
Yeah, then
Yeah.
maybe
it's a
we-
bigger, broader
Yeah,
scope.
then I'm thinking though that based on what Troy said, that maybe we need to figure out just a way to reword the wording so that we don't think that there's a buildings and grounds board, but, basically you're saying, say Memorial, you want to clarify the fact that Memorial Park, there's a commissioner that you can turn to for Memorial.
Yeah,
Park.
it's not, the board isn't the right word there. It
Okay.
should be,
Or, and I'll just pick on myself and the maintenance department, maybe if we're going to do a little bit of changing around here, maybe there should be more of an explanation behind that.
Yeah, like parentheses, Memorial Park, courthouse, building, the buildings and grounds, Memorial Park, that kind of
Maybe
stuff.
behind maintenance, you put buildings and grounds, Memorial Park Buildings and Grounds.
Yeah.
Lump it all
Okay.
underneath there.
Yeah.
Because as I'm just looking at this, they could say maintenance department, but
Yeah, it could
that might
vehicles
be,
and-
okay, is that highway department
maintenance,
related?
yeah.
So, yeah.
What I would
But it's
chime in
not.
there
No.
is that
But they'd have
being a
both covered
liaison
under
to
you 'cause you're highway
extension,
department.
I get a lot of questions in reference to the extension complex.
Yeah.
And you're the extension, you're the county extension office liaison, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that also includes buildings and grounds, because a lot of the questions I get are in
Yeah, that's
reference to
gonna-
the
that's
buildings
just
and
gonna-
grounds of
There's
the
an
extension.
extension office
Yeah.
and there's an ag building,
Yeah.
two
That's just gonna-
separate.
That's just gonna.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just gonna have to clarify. We
Yeah.
can.
And that maintenance, and that extension building should have a person attached to it.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that at all. In fact, I just looking at this, and I was just thinking the calls that I've had this past week. One was about a theft, one was about being treated unfairly, and one was in reference to an individual in our community wasn't getting any answers from one of our departments because they didn't like him. So, what department does that fall under?
If Mr. Chairman, if folks are okay with it, I can play around with some of the wording.
Yes,
Yeah,
let's do that. We'll consider this as a work in progress, but thank you, Lee, for,
Yeah, and I apologize if I didn't, yeah, I had a chance to talk to the department heads, and, you know, that I've had questions for, so, and then I'll try to
there's that.
send it out through Cindy to the rest of us then.
For those of you that have never been attached or have reference to military, this follows military standards, so thank you, Lee.
Also, I might suggest, like with emergency management, you could put dive rescue behind that. I mean, some of those that
some
we're
of those
moving
clarifying,
down, put them behind the departments that they are, if it's a separate,
Or it just like includes dive rescue.
yeah,
Something like
just
that.
if it's a separate sort of subheading.
So
Okay.
it's kind of a subdivision. of it.
Yep,
All right,
what it all encompasses, basically.
And after looking at this, we had a little bit of a discussion beforehand, but after looking at that, I can see where some of this should be tightened up a little bit, maybe. It has a way of expanding, and this way we get a little more clarification.
I made the classical
That's the idea.
comment. I said, well, we've been doing it this way for 50 years. Why change it? So those of us that have grown up with it, we just, you know,
Inductive reasoning.
yeah. But you're right, if it's all on
Yeah.
social media and people look at it and
Well, I think we
they're
should
fine.
make sure it's on our county website once we get it cleaned
Yep.
up, so.
Okay, we need to do number 14, to approve operating cash transfers as budgeted. Do we have any?
These are the cash transfers that we budget for when we worked on the budget in 2017. There are, for instance, the Victims Crime Fund. There are no revenues for that fund, so that fund, that fund is based solely on monies from the general fund. WIC is also supplemented by the general fund because the state does not fund that 100%. And emergency management also does not generate enough revenue to sustain the budget that they need. So all of these monies are coming from the general fund. To the highway department, it's $601,547.
Say that number one more time.
$601,547. Emergency management, $167,486. The Victims Crime Fund, $73,583. And the WIC Fund, $5,244. So that is a total of $847,860 that gets transferred from the general fund cash to these departments, and this is an annual operating
I'll
procedure.
make that motion to.
A motion by Hatton,
transfer
second
those
by
funds.
Second. Lee.
Van Duzen. Any discussion?
And the only fund that that we tried to maintain somewhat of a surplus in is the highway department in the event of a major catastrophe. The rest of these, we do not leave a supplement. It's just enough money to keep them operating on a year-to-year basis. So if I look at, when I prepare the 2019 budget, if I look and see that the emergency management is going to have more cash on hand at the end of the year than I anticipated, I'll cut back on the amount that we transfer to that fund, yeah.
And
So it's up to these amounts, basically, or you're asking to transfer
I'm
these amounts
asking to
now?
transfer the whole amount, and then when we prepare the 2019 budget, we'll look at it and see if we think there's too much of a surplus in those smaller funds, then we won't transfer as much next year.
And would you give me that number one more time? I fell asleep and didn't get enough.
The total is $847,860, and it is included in the 2018 annual budget
All right.
that we adopted in September.
Okay, you heard that. Is there a motion? to make it?
We have a
Motion
motion and a
okay.
second. Yep,
Hatton and Gable, or
Hanton and Van Duzen.
Hatton, Van Duzen, whoever. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Number 15, action to approve claims for payment.
The claims we have today are January salary claims in the amount of $549,673.97. And go ahead and go ahead and get your
Motion by
second.
Hatton,
I'll second it.
second by Gable. Any discussion?
This publication, we are required at the beginning, first payroll of each year, we have to publish every employee's name and the amount they're being paid. That's a one-time thing, so our publication is a little bit longer this time than normal. Normally, we just say Commissioner's office, this much money, auditor's office, this much money, but in January payroll, we are required to publish each employee's name.
I'm missing.
Yep.
Go ahead, next.
So general
Oh, did you
public,
not get listed on there? We will remedy that. Yeah, we
Whose
will
name
remedy
isn't on
that.
there?
Oh, Mr. Gable.
oh,
Commissioner Gable's
Well,
name is not on there, so we
we'll
will.
capitalize it and put it in
That would be
dark
a
ink.
one-page memo then with that one name on it?
Yeah,
No, it will be added to this list. Yes,
put it in parentheses and capital letters.
yes. Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We've had some discussion. Everybody clear? Any more discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries. Any automatic supplements?
Nothing today.
And approved personnel changes, we've got several of them today.
3 of those. Darian Whitlock is a part-time correctional officer who has reached the number of hours needed to move to the next step, which will be step 2, 1774 per hour. I think that is the 2017 rate, though, so we'll need to. 1801 is the 2018 amount. Lonnie Vogelsang is maintenance 2 at the Highway Department. He's due an anniversary step increase to step 3, 1857 an hour. Randy Falvey is maintenance 2 at the Highway Department. He will go to step 3, 1867 an hour. And the difference in those two is one of them qualifies for the educational incentive.
Motion by Van Duzen, second by Gable. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's look then at travel requests.
I have one travel request, and that is for the weed supervisor to attend a bird and rodent commercial recertification. I also have a note to my travel request from a couple of weeks ago. I had noted that I would take a county vehicle. When I got here that morning to take the county vehicle, the battery was dead, so I ended up taking my own vehicle, and I will be reimbursed then for the mileage for my own vehicle. But
You are forgiven.
it was, they had to
Wasn't at her
replace
own-
the battery.
yeah, Not her fault.
All right, we have a motion by Hatton, second by
I'll second it.
Gable. Any discussion? Good thing it was dead here and not when he got there.
That's what I thought, you know, I
Yeah.
could maybe try and get it running, but I thought, nope, I'm going all the way to Mitchell. I'm not going to take a vehicle that I'm going to get stuck by the side of the road in.
Good call. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries. Old business, any mature business that we need to discuss?
Mr. Chairman, just, when, we had the architects visited on Tuesday this week, I'm sorry, Wednesday, and had a meeting with the judge and court personnel just to finalize, finalize the design plan. So it was the only, I guess, the most significant thing was that the clerk of courts proposed an idea that it's actually gonna end up saving us some money in her office, so it's a little less demolition of some of the masonry walls in there, so that was a good thing. The rest, I think, the plans that were sent out on email before, that's pretty much what we discussed off of, so very minor tweaks off of that. So, just one interesting thing was with the new courtroom, this is the remodeled equalization office into a courtroom, the amount of seats there will be about 100 spectators, so that'll be nice for jury calls, so.
What is the large jury room
Jury
upstairs?
I want to say it's 60-some. I'm not sure exactly on that one.
Say it'll be larger.
Yeah, well, for spectating, yeah. So I think roughly the same size. The overall, I think the length of it's going to be a little shorter because some of that space needs to be taken up for a judge's chamber and part of the jury deliberation area. That meeting was productive. So now with that, what the architect is doing is going into the construction document phase, and so making those design documents where everybody agrees on the layout and where the judge sits, where the reporter sits, into something that a contractor can use, and so that will allow us to get. So the next big step is going to be the advertisement for bids, and
Yep.
so within.
And I have had a few questions in reference to what's happening, and in reference to what's going to happen. Are we going to have anything ready for the November election in reference to the jail. And I think as soon as we safely can get a layout of the remodeling project to the paper so that we can get it out to the general public, and I know we don't want to do that until we kind of get things.
I'll see if I can get to the, get something, a cleaned up version, because the one you saw is pretty close. The one that we emailed out is pretty close, but there's a few little cleanup things. So I'll have to see if I can talk to the architect. We'll be talking about that a week from tonight at the next Justice Advisory Committee meeting. So that's a week from tonight at LATI.
That'll whet the consumers' appetite a little bit. And,
Yeah.
And
I'll try to put something out on. If you want to get the basic idea of what people can do right now, is they can go online and look at the minutes,
Sure.
and they're attached to the minutes of the Justice Advisory Committee. But I'm happy to email what we have to the paper and whatever.
Specifically, what meeting was that? That would have been like the last one?
The last one, so you had pretty close to what we ended up with, but from a judge's perspective or a court person's perspective about where people sit, those are pretty significant things. But for the layman, when we're looking at it, it's pretty much that looks like the bench. So,
all the line of sight things are important
yeah.
for. What's the guy that Mr. Bull? Isn't that the TV program that analyzes all the
Night Court.
jurors or something like that? And that's what they do. That's what it's all about. Any other old business? Any other old business? Seeing none, let's go to new business. What do we have for new business?
I provided everybody with an agenda and a registration form for the County Commissioners Officials Workshop, which is March 14th and 15th. I do have Brenda's registration turned in. There is a little bit of an agenda here. I don't know if this is set in stone or if it's subject to change, but we'll need to, I'll need to know if any of you are going, if it's going to be a 2-day registration, a 1-day registration, and then you will have to contact one of these facilities at the bottom of the page on room availability. I don't know what that's going to be like. Is the legislature finished by then?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Well,
But I guess I would not wait around. If you plan on going, you probably should call and set up a room reservation or, Anyway, just a note here that the sooner you get your registration into me, the better. And they do want, your registrations by March 9th, and there's no refund after that date.
Any questions? Anything else for the new business?
Just an FYI, I will be short-staffed for about 12 weeks.
12 weeks.
Yes, I have an employee who is going to be taking family medical leave.
Okay.
I don't intend to need anybody else, while she's out. Just wanted to let you know that there'll be 3 of us in the office instead of 4 for soon.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I have an update on the Safety Committee. I guess I don't know if that was old business or new business, where that falls under.
We're new business, so go ahead.
That's under old. Okay, can we back up? Just to let everybody know, we did meet last week. Milo, Rick, Jim, me, and Myron was there. And we began the process of going through the safety manual that's being implemented by the county or looked at by the county. Lots of changes that we found in that, so I just wanted to give an update that it's a work in progress, and hopefully we'll have something here to present to the commission here in the near future, but it's being worked on.
I think we meet again next Monday,
Yes.
and hopefully by the end of that meeting, we'll...
Where are you meeting?
And the
Emergency
EOC.
management.
Okay.
Not in the EOC, but in the basement.
Okay.
Emergency management.
Okay, all right, then I don't need to mark anything here.
Yeah.
All right.
Good, appreciate that. Anything else for new business?
Just on Mr. Chairman, on the behavioral health or the former Stepping Up initiative, we had been meeting once on the second Friday of the month, but that is turning out to be a bad time for a lot of members of that committee. So it looks like the best time is going to be the second Thursday of the month. However, this month that would be too soon to schedule because the second Thursday would be this Thursday. So the next Stepping Up or Behavioral Health and Justice Working Group meeting is the 15th right now at 1 o'clock. So the 15th at 1 o'clock in this room.
I would like to attend, but I have a transit meeting that day also, so I'm gonna have to do that one.
All right, anything else? Any other new business?
Just one
Tony.
thing, and I guess I could have covered this when Rick was here and wasn't thinking about it. We've got a number of those new signs that are out in the county. We've all seen them, the more high visibility ones. Out in my neck of the woods, we've had 2 or 3 of the ones with the chevrons that have blown over, busted off. The ones with the chevrons on, they're like this. They've got a 14 gauge post going into the ground, and there's 12 gauge up above, and they're breaking off. So if somebody's out traveling, just be aware of it. They're all located around the curves. And I think I've seen 3 of them within 3 miles.
If they're around the curve, more likely the snowplow's getting them.
No.
You
This
don't think
was
so?
before snow.
That would be
We
for
haven't
And
had one.
if somebody sees those signs down, they can get a hold of Rick.
Yeah.
To let him
And
know
that's
so
what
that we can get them back
That's what
up.
I've been doing, kind of
Yep.
out looking around for them, but it's just something to be aware of. We've got, in fact, where County Road 6 goes back east or west to the 3 mile stop.
Sure.
From the casino, there was one there. And then when you go north on 17, where the bridge was, that little bridge and correction line, there was one on the south and one on the north.
I know around the lake where it's real curvy on South Lake Drive, North Lake Drive, a bunch of those got busted off 2-3 years ago, and I don't know if they've ever been replaced, but notify the proper people. This would be Rick in your case.
Yeah, and Rick did say that they had saved all the standards from the old signs, and they were going to be using them and replacing them because they were heavier.
Good, all right.
Something else for new business, Lee and my meeting that was supposed to happen last Wednesday with a couple of the city folk has been now moved till this Friday at noon. That's on the further discussions with the city about buildings and
And that plays into when
Yeah.
we might vote on the jail.
where is that? I called it here, Commissioner's room, when I talked to him.
So this
On the
Friday,
9th,
So meeting with council.
the city council. Bruce Bueller, Mike.
You're right, all right. I was a week ahead, okay.
It's not really new business, but I did attend Lake and Pesca Development Committee meeting that was called by the mayor. And there was about 25 or 30 of us there. Too large a group to be effective. Let's put it that way. And so the mayor and Roger Foote were going to narrow it down to a smaller number and let us know who and when we're going to meet next time, but we'll probably meeting again shortly. And just kicked around ideas of, it's really quite interesting. You know, we're having issues with the lake being really pretty dirty, and now the lake is cleaned up nicely. And I remember this summer when we were out swimming with the grandkids, and they were standing in the water probably 4 feet deep. You could see their feet, which was unusual. But now there's nothing for the fish to eat, so there's no fish out there. So we have to dirty the lake. No, we don't need to dirty up the lake so we get fish. But you know, it's kind of one of those things. You know, one thing turns out to affect another thing, and that's how that goes. And so a lot of ideas were brought up, and so as I get information on that, I'll share with the county.
Same thing with, I attended the affordable housing meeting. It's the same sort of thing where you have a lot of different groups, have different interests. I mean, it's all about affordable housing, but at different types, if that makes any sense at all. So that's another group that's going to be, the mayor would like to focus her attention on workforce housing, whatever that may look like. So that's another work in progress as well.
All of this stuff takes money, and a lot of money. For example, somebody said, well, dredge Lake and Pesca, but I heard a number, and I have no way to verifying this or anything, but they said after the lake was dredged, it cost $1 million a year just to retain what has been done. You know, and it's unbelievable, but it takes a lot of money. All right, anything for the open? I guess the first thing that I'd like to, for the open, we just had a request here from the city of Henry. Do we want to mill that over for a week now, or do we want to discuss any of that during our open now? Or any comment?
My suggestion would be that I think we need to talk to the treasurer of the Department of Equalization, because the concerns
First
were
thing,
about-
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
values
get some-
and taxes, so.
Have they been out there recently to look at that house and see what shape it's
That might
in?
have just been,
Right.
one of the ones that wasn't on their list to visit for a while.
Right.
That might have been what.
Yeah.
Could that be something that is put on the agenda for them to come up and visit with us next week?
That might be good.
And then
Maybe in the meantime, they would have a chance to go out and take another look at it.
see what their
No,
thoughts are as far as
I'm-
evaluation?
I'm thinking of putting it on the agenda for 2 weeks from now. That would give everybody a chance to,
Yeah,
Was that,
maybe just discuss
Do
it.
you want to
more.
discuss next
Yeah,
week?
with the
value?
director.
We
I
can
think we
discuss it
should-
next week.
yes.
And try to act on
Get
it.
their,
let's get Shauna up here next week.
Yep,
Is it her turn to report?
it
then?
is.
So,
is, yeah.
would you do that?
Yeah, I've got it.
Let her know that
Yes.
we would like to discuss that.
Yep.
Good.
so there could be a quorum of commissioners, obviously, at the farm show this week, every day. Saturday morning is a Cracker Barrel at 9 o'clock. There's also the Polar Plunge going on.
State gymnastics meet.
There's also the pipeline meeting.
Yeah, and I
that's-
know Jim Sutton and I are going to be there. Are you going to be
I
there?
will be there
I'm going to be there.
tomorrow night at 5:30, tomorrow night at the
5:30.
Elks.
Wednesday. Yeah.
That's at the Elks, right?
Correct,
Yes.
yep.
Is that then, but it's not
And that's a pre-registered deal. so-
company, right? Yes.
I'm on a weekly conference call with the executive committee for our state commissioners board. We're following the bills very closely, so I'll kind of keep you guys abreast of what's happening with some of them that will definitely impact us. so.
Does everybody get that report? The weekly report on their email?
Yeah, it's good.
And the red ones and the green ones and the yellow ones are ones that we need to watch. And there are some that do affect us, so keep abreast of what's happening there.
Mr. Chairman, there's one other thing I'm on the glacial lakes and prairie tourism guy, so every 3 months we have a meeting. So we had a meeting in Huron with that. That's kind of like a chamber of commerce for tourism industries.
Sure.
In northeast South Dakota. Nothing really to report, just to let people know that that's what I've been doing that. And I'm kind of they like having a county official from one of the counties on that board, so that's me.
Thank you for doing that. Anything else for the open?
You mentioned the CJAC, that's next Tuesday night at
Right.
6:10, but we'll have a chance to mention that again. Other than that, I don't have anything, so.
Okay, is there any need for an executive session? I have not had any requests.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn by Hatton, a second by Gable.
Okay, I'll second it.
Yeah. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And
Or what I need to
for your information, I am running for another term.
Okay.
So I am not as formal as Lee and Brenda. Myron's running.
Okay, well, just put a note in the digest, probably on News Digest.
Well, if you need information or whatever, call me and I'll let my wife tell you what.